What is the oldest debt your family owes? Not to a bank. Not to a person. To the world itself. We think we own the land we build on. But what if we are merely tenants? And what if the original landlords are always watching? Always counting? This is the story of a village that forgot its oldest promise, a story that crawls under your skin to ask, what happens when the smallest creditors decide to collect? The village of Ezinihitte was booming. New homes, shops, a processing plant. It had forgotten it was built on the land of the weeping ant, a place where the first ancestors, facing starvation, made a pact with the Ndi Igbà, the ant nation. The ancestors offered a tribute of the first grains of every harvest. In return, the ants would ensure the soil remained fertile, the termites never ate the huts, and the village's foundations stood firm. For generations, a keeper of the hill performed the ritual. But progress has no patience for ritual. The last keeper died. The new generation, led by a wealthy, arrogant contractor named Dike, saw the ancient ant hill as a pest problem. On the sacred hill, Dike built his masterpiece, a towering, glass-walled villa. He poured concrete over the main entrance to the ant colony. He laughed at the old tales. Only his elderly aunt, Adanna, remembered. She warned him. "Dike, you have built a palace on a sealed tomb. The agreement was not a request. It is a contract. They have held up their end for centuries. Now, you must hold up yours, or they will take their payment, in another way." Dike dismissed her. "Let them send me a bill, auntie." The ants sent their first notice. It began with silence. The usual background hum of insects around Ezinihitte vanished. An eerie, oppressive quiet fell. Then, the failures started. Dike's new processing plant, built on the edge of the sacred land, had its machinery jammed overnight. Not with rust, but with a hardened, glue-like paste and millions of tiny, dead black ants. A farmer who had sold his portion of the land to Dike found his entire yam crop riddled with perfect, geometrically round holes, as if drilled by a precise machine. The crops were hollowed out from the inside, but no pest was ever seen. The ants were not attacking randomly. They were repossessing. Taking back the fertility they had granted. Dike, a practical man, hired exterminators. They sprayed poisons, pumped toxic gas into secondary hills. The next morning, the exterminators were found in their beds, unharmed but empty. Not dead. Their eyes were open, blinking, but their minds were gone. As if something had meticulously scooped out every thought, every memory, every spark of will. And around each of their pillows was a fine, almost artistic, trail of sand. Adanna came to Dike, her face ashen. "You have not just broken the pact, nephew. You have declared war. And they are not just taking the grain. They are taking the interest. They are harvesting the mind." Dike finally felt a sliver of fear. He visited the sealed hill under his villa. In the basement, where the concrete met earth, a hairline crack had appeared. And from it, a single file of ants emerged. But these were different. They were a shimmering, iridescent black, and they moved in a horrifyingly perfect, synchronized pattern, a living, crawling script. They were writing something. Keeping a record. He had made a terrible mistake. But Dike was not a man of apology. He was a man of solutions. If he couldn't kill them, he would make a new deal. Driven by arrogance and now panic, Dike did the unthinkable. He didn't seek forgiveness. He sought to negotiate from strength. He learned from scattered old texts that the Ndi Igbà communicated through complex patterns. He hired a reclusive, immoral entomologist named Zubri, no relation to previous characters, who believed insects were a superior intelligence. "We can hack their language," Zubri said, his eyes gleaming behind thick glasses. "We can send a new treaty. Not of grain, but of structure. We offer them new, organized territories in the forest. A better deal. Using pheromone synthesizers and vibration emitters placed around the property, they broadcasted an arrogant, modified pact: leave our structures. Take the wild lands instead. This is our new offer. The colony's response was immediate and catastrophic. They accepted the new terms. But they interpreted them literally. The ants did not go to the forest. They began to restructure Ezinihitte to match the wild lands. They didn't attack people. They deconstructed human order. The neatly laid electrical cables in Dike's villa were chewed and respun into chaotic, web-like nests that caused perpetual short circuits. The straight painted lines on the new village road were covered with intricate, swirling mud trails that made navigation impossible. Gardens were rearranged into wild, dense tangles. Then, it moved to the social order. The ants targeted the village's records, the ledger at the market, the chief's family tree scroll. They ate away specific names and numbers, leaving only a chaotic, incomplete history. They were introducing entropy. Decivilizing. The final horror began with Dike's foreman, a boastful man named Cato who had personally poured the concrete over the hill. He woke up screaming. He claimed he could feel them planning inside the walls. Then, he fell silent. He would stand for hours, perfectly still, staring at a wall. If you looked closely, you'd see his pupils were contracting and expanding in a rapid, rhythmic pattern, mirroring the movement of antennae. The ants were not just changing the environment. They were rewiring the human mind to perceive the world as they did, a colony, a collective, where individual will was a flaw. Dike was besieged in his own palace. The synchronized, script-crawling ants were now everywhere, remaking his world into a chaotic, efficient, ant-like paradigm. He realized the true nature of the original pact. It wasn't trade. It was a boundary treaty. The ants kept their chaos out of the human domain in exchange for tribute. He had torn up that treaty. Now, their domain was expanding, and absorbing his. The crisis reached its peak during the village's annual New Yam festival, a celebration of harvest and order. The central feast was laid out. As the chief gave thanks, a wave of iridescent ants flowed into the square. But they did not touch the food. They began to catalog it. They surrounded each dish, each person, each artifact, moving in precise patterns, as if taking inventory of every single resource in Ezinihitte. Adanna stepped forward, breaking protocol. She held a single, ancient clay bowl filled with the finest grains from her own private store, the tribute that should have been given months ago. She approached the main column of ants. She did not speak to the people. She spoke to the ground. Great nation. We have forgotten. We have been foolish. The child has erred. Here is the grain. The first grain. We acknowledge the debt. She poured the grains onto the earth. The ant column paused. The recorded, meticulous crawling stopped. Dike, from his villa's balcony, saw this as surrender. As weakness. In a final, catastrophic act of pride, he shouted down. No. We do not bow to insects. He ordered Zubri to activate the final deterrent, a high-frequency emitter designed to scatter them permanently. The sound screeched. For a moment, the ants recoiled. Then, total, unified stillness. From every crack, every hole, every foundation of Ezinihitte, the Ndi Igbà emerged. Not in a swarm, but in a single, flowing, liquid black river. They moved with one purpose. They flowed up the walls of Dike's villa. They did not bite. They did not sting. They covered. Every inch of glass, every piece of wood, every opening was sealed under a living, crawling, breathing black shell. The high-frequency whine from inside was muffled, then silenced. The river of ants receded, flowing back into the earth, leaving the villa as a silent, shimmering black mound. When brave villagers finally cracked the shell days later, they found Dike and Zuberi inside. Alive. Unharmed physically. But they were sitting on the floor, facing each other. They were not speaking. They were tapping their fingers on the ground in complex, synchronous rhythms. Their eyes were vacant. They had been incorporated. Their individual minds had been dissolved into the colony's consciousness. They were now living nodes in the Ant Nation's network, a permanent testament to the Broken Pact. The village reinstated the tribute. Adanna became the keeper. Ezinihitte prospered again, but it now lived with a palpable, humble awareness. You do not own the land. You have a lease. And the landlords are always auditing. And in the forest, if you are very quiet, you might see two men with vacant eyes, moving with uncanny coordination, building intricate, perfect structures of mud and leaf. No longer architects of their own destiny, but forever employed in the service of the oldest creditors on Earth. Dike thought the pact was folklore. He learned it was cosmic law. His story teaches us that the greatest horrors aren't always about violation, but about accounting. Every comfort, every piece of progress, has a silent partner. And forgetting your debt to the world, to the soil, to the small, to the ancient agreements, does not make the debt disappear. It just means the collection agency will arrive in a form you never imagined, to take a payment you never agreed to, in a currency you cannot afford. But what do you think? Was Dike's fate a just punishment for his arrogance, or was it a grotesque overreaction from a ruthless, ancient power? Could Adanna have stopped it sooner? Let me know in the comments below. If this tale of tiny, patient creditors chilled you to the bone, then you must not miss the story of the river that demanded balance. The link is on the screen right now. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon for more original, chilling tales. We release new stories every week that will make you listen closely to the ground beneath your feet. Until next time, honor your oldest debts.